Hello and merry ninth day of Christmas in this 12 Days of Christmas series where I share the gifts that God gave me each month of my Jesus year. Today we're talking about the month of September. In the month of September, the church had a great celebration because we canonized one of my favorites, Carlo Acutis. Carlo, if he were still alive, would just be a little bit older than me, maybe less than a year older than me, and he is the first millennial saint. His evangelization efforts were really oriented towards Eucharistic evangelization. He was an ordinary guy. He liked soccer and he was decent at school. He cared about nobility of the heart and the dignity of life. The life of Carlo Acutis is so important because he is a young person. He was only 15 when he died, but he also cared a lot about the Eucharist, and he was one of our patron saints for the Pasadena Eucharistic Revival. On the day of our Eucharistic procession, we had the great gift of having a relic of Saint Therese for the special centennial anniversary of her canonization. And she led the Eucharistic procession. One thing that was cool is that we had Carlo's backpack, and we took our intentions of our community and put them in a backpack and asked for Blessed Carlo at the time's intercession, his special intercession. I had this sense that what Therese was for the last century, that Carlo would be for this upcoming century. And I consumed so much Carlo content in the last year leading up to his canonization. And while we were in Assisi for our trip to the Jubilee in the summer, we went to his tomb. And I remember sitting at his tomb and saying, "Help me out, man." And Assisi was his favorite city in the world. And it's also my favorite city in the world. I visited when I was 18 years old for my high school senior trip. And I've dreamt of this place ever since. I certainly didn't know about Carlo Acutis at that time, even though he had just died only a couple years before my first trip to Assisi. But I had dreamed of it, and I thought that maybe I would just have kind of a clouded nostalgia going back to Assisi this year. And I was wrong. It's actually still my favorite city in the world. It's so peaceful, and I understand why Carlo loved it so much. And we were greeted by fields of sunflowers in Assisi, and to visit him at his tomb and ask for his intercession for the ministry at the Newman Center, and for especially an increase in Eucharistic devotion. It was such a gift to be awake, I think at 1 a.m. our time or 3 a.m. our time for the canonization, to just watch the church celebrate him and to see his family there, his siblings who are twins, and especially his mom. I was just moved by his mom's presence at the canonization, that she was just obviously beaming with joy for her son, and her son, who I think was lectoring for part of the Mass, was the age of Carlo when Carlo died. So the gift of September was this celebration that was long awaited, at least for me and for probably a lot of other people, devotees of now Saint Carlo, this great evangelizer, this Eucharistic evangelizer. Earlier in the year, I read the book that his mother wrote about him and watched several documentaries about him, and especially reading things that he wrote from his journal or in his notes that his mom included in that book that she wrote. You can see what a profound faith he had even at a young age, and what a profound understanding of theology that he had, but not just that, but how he lived it out in his ordinary life, which because of his virtue he made extraordinary. So it felt like a big win for a friend. It was like celebrating a friend's wedding or something, except his wedding banquet is being a saint, is being in heaven and interceding for us. And that spiritual friendship has sustained me. I just feel like I always was supposed to be close with Carlo, and I desire to be a Eucharistic evangelist just like him, and especially because his canonization got moved. So we were supposed to be there in July for his canonization, and it got moved to later in the year in September. So it was really long awaited, and it was a grace to be able to watch that live with a few people at the Newman Center. Yeah, that was the gift of September. So see you tomorrow for October's gift.